Olivia Bennet always knew she was different from her sister, not because they looked different, not because they grew up in different homes, but because their parents treated them like two completely different children. From the outside, the Bennet family looked perfect. A beautiful house, successful parents, 2 daughters with bright futures. But inside that house, Olivia always felt like she was standing outside a locked door, watching everyone else being invited in. When Olivia was young, she learned an important lesson. Charlotte could make mistakes. Olivia could not. If Charlotte failed an exam, her parents would comfort her. It's okay. Everyone has bad days. If Olivia failed once, the conversation was different. You need to work hard. You need to be more responsible. You should know better. Over time, Olivia stopped asking why. She simply worked hard. She believed that one day, if she achieved enough, her family would finally see her. At 16, Olivia won a national science competition. She spent months building a research project alone. When her name was announced as the winner, she ran home excited. She expected her parents to celebrate. Instead, she found them preparing a dinner for Charlotte. Charlotte had been accepted into a prestigious private university. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone was smiling. Olivia stood at the doorway, holding her hand. Nobody noticed, not even her parents. That was the first time she realized something maybe her would never matter as much as years. Olivia became a talented researcher. She worked long hours. She earned scholars. She built a career without any help. Charlotte became the person everyone. She had the confidence, the connections, the family's full. Whenever relatives did, they talked Charlotte. She's going places. She has such a beer. Olivia would sit, listening, smiling, pretending. Then the change. It was a family dinner at the Bennet. Everyone was gathered around the table. Her father, Bennet, looked unusually serious. Olivia immediately thought maybe this was fine. Maybe her father wanted to judge her. Maybe he wanted to tell her he was proud. Thomas stood up. I have something important to announce. Everyone, quiet. Your mother and I have decided to invest in your future, Charlotte smiled. What do you mean? Thomas placed a bowl. This is a gift. It opened it, widened, silent. $11 million? Everyone started congratulating her. Her mother hugged her. You deserve this. Relative smiled. This is incredible. Olivia frozen. $11 million. Her father had given her sister $1 million, and somehow she wasn't surprised, because deep down, after dinner, looked outside. She stood alone. A few minutes later, Thomas told her, Olivia. She turned around. For a moment, she hoped. Maybe explain. Maybe he this looked. But instead, he said, I don't want to understand. Silent. Your support. Olivia looked at him. And I don't? Thomas sighed. What I mean. Then what do you mean? It's uncomfortable. And independent. You, your own future. Those words hurt more than money, because what he's saying was simple. Charlotte, someone worth investing, and Olivia was someone alone. That night, Olivia drove home by herself. She thought about every moment of her childhood, every time she tried to earn their attention, achievement they ignored. Every time Charlotte was chosen first, she finally accepted something painful. Her family had already decided her place. She was the daughter who could handle anything, the daughter who didn't need, the daughter who didn't matter. 3 months later, Olivia received a phone call from an unfamiliar number. Is this Olivia Bennet? Yes, my name is James Walker. I'm an attorney handling your Bennet's estate. Olivia froze. Her grandfather, Arthur Bennet, had died. Oh, at least that was what her parents told her. The lawyer continued. Your grandfather left specific instructions. He wanted you to receive a personal letter before anything else. Olivia felt confused. Letter? Yes. And Olivia, the lawyer, paused. Your grandfather meant things you were never told. The next morning, a package arrived. Inside was an old envelope. Her name was written on it. Olivia Bennet. Hands shook as she opened it. The first sentence stop. Dear Olivia, if you are reading Succeeded in Keeping Us Apart, she read the sentence again. They? Who were they? Then she continued. Need you to know something. You never abandoned me. I made sure I believed you did. Olivia felt tears forming because years she thought her mother had forgotten her. She thought he stopped caring. She thought she wasn't important enough, but now she was discovering another ability. Someone had lied. Someone had taken away the relationship she most. At the bottom of the letter was one final message, Olivia. That was never about money. The world may have overlooked it, but I never did. The Bennett Advanced Institute belongs to you. Olivia stared at the words. A research institute. Her grandfather's work. Why would he leave everything to her? And why did her family never tell? For the first time in years, Olivia wondered if it was worthless. Maybe they were afraid of what she could become. Olivia Bennett read the letter 3 more times. Every time, the same question appeared in her mind. Why? Why would her grandfather believe someone had kept them apart? For years, Olivia had accepted the story her parents told her. Arthur Bennett became older. He became distant. He stopped asking about her. He stopped calling. At least that was what they told her. But now she was holding proof that everything she believed might have been a lie. The next morning, Olivia called her mother. Rebecca answered after several rings. Olivia? Her voice sounded surprised. Mom, I need to ask you something. A pause. What is it? Why did Grandpa stop contacting me? The silence on the other end was immediate. Too immediate, Olivia noticed. Mom? Rebecca finally spoke. Olivia, this is something from the past. That's not an answer. Your grandfather was difficult near the end. Olivia looked at the letter on the table. Did he ever try to contact? Another pause. Then Rebecca said, I don't remember. But Olivia knew that wasn't the truth. Later that day, Olivia visited her childhood home, the same house where she spent years trying to feel accepted. Thomas was in his office. He looked surprised when he saw her. Olivia, what are you doing here? She placed the letter on his desk. I found the moment Thomas saw the envelope, his expression changed, only for a second, but Olivia saw. You know about it. Thomas looked. Where did you get that? My grandfather's lawyer. Silence. Olivia stepped closer. Why did nobody tell? Thomas, you don't understand the situation. Then explain. He didn't answer. And that silence told her more than words. For years, Olivia believed her grandfather walked away, but now she started asking different questions. What if he didn't? What if someone made sure they never spoke? That night, Olivia searched old birthday cards, photos, emails, anything connected to her. Then she found something strange. A box she had kept since died. Were old letters. Most were, but there was something she never noticed. A returned. The sender? The date, 8 years. Olivia's hands started shaking. She opened it. Inside was a card, but the message was, I tried calling you again today. I hope you know I never stopped thinking about you. Because your mother said you were too busy to, but I don't. I know her. I know you would never disappear. Olivia covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes, because her grandfather had been trying. He hadn't forgotten her. Someone had made him believe she forgot him. The next day, Olivia contacted Arthur again. Mr. Walker, I need to know everything. Bear was quiet. Are you sure? There are things your grandfather specifically wanted you to do yourself. Because he knew your family would you. Those words, family? The lawyer continued. Your grandfather spent his final years reviewing documents. He believed someone inside the family was manipulation. Olivia felt a cold feeling. What kind of information? Records. Research ownership documents. And that afternoon, Olivia met with James Walker. He brought several files. The first document was online. Calls, messages, letters. All the attempts Arthur made to contact. Olivia looked through them. Every year, birthday, every holiday, her grandfather had tried. And every time, something prevented the connection. The second was even more shocking. A record of changes made to Arthur's emergency contact information. Olivia stared at the name. Rebecca, her mother. He'd do this. Serious. I don't know. But your grandfather's was a reason. What reason? The lawyer opened another folder. Inside was information about the Bennett Advanced Institute. Olivia the documents carefully understood. The research center wasn't just a building. It was worth millions, but more importantly, it represented Arthur's entire life's work, and Arthur had chosen her, not Charlotte, not her parents. That evening, Olivia returned home. She sat with all the documents around her. For years, she thought she wasn't chosen. But now she realized something. Maybe she had chosen all along. Maybe the people around her were the ones who didn't want her to know. Her phone suddenly rang. It was Charlotte. Olivia hesitated before answering. Hello? Charlotte's voice sounded nervous. Olivia, how did you find out about Grandma? Olivia froze, hadn't told anyone. About it. Silence. Then Charlotte whispered, because this day might come. Olivia's heart sank. Us? Charlotte didn't answer. Olivia already understood. This was about an inheritance. This was about a secret her entire family kept for years. And now, that secret was finally coming out. Olivia Bennett couldn't sleep. The documents were spread across her kitchen table. Every page revealed another piece of a story she was never supposed to know. Her grandfather didn't abandon her. He fought to stay connected. He remembered every birthday, every achievement, every moment she thought nobody noticed. The person who believed in her the most had been the person she was told had forgotten her. The next morning, Olivia visited the Bennett Advanced Research Institute for the first time. She expected an empty building, a forgotten place from the past. But when she arrived, she stopped. The research center was still. Operating scientists were working inside. Projects were active. The building was alive. James Walker walked beside your grandfather, made sure this place continued running. Olivia looked surprised, even after he died. Yes. Oh. James handed her a document, because he created a special ownership agreement. Olivia read the first page. The owner of the institute would transfer to Olivia, not Thomas, not Charlotte, not anyone else. Inside the main lab, Olivia met several researchers. One of them was Dr. Samuel. He was in his late 50s and had worked with Arthur for over 20 years. When he saw Olivia, his expression, "You look exactly like your grand." Olivia smiled. "I barely remember." Samuel looked confused. "That's impossible." "What?" "He talked about you all." Olivia rose. "Did?" Sam did. "Your grandfather was proud of. He said you had the rare ability to see problems." Olivia looked around the lab. All these. She thought nobody believed her, but said someone who mattered. Sam showed her Arthur's private office. The room had been untouched. Books, research, old photographs. On the desk was a small notebook. Samuel smiled. "Your grandfather left that for." Olivia opened it carefully. First page contained a handwritten message. "Olivia, if you are reading this, then you finally did the truth." She continued, "I know you may feel angry. You may wonder why I didn't fight harder. But I need to stand. Sometimes protecting someone means waiting a moment." Olivia stopped. Because those words sounded exact him. The notebook contained years of thoughts, research, ideas, personal memories, and one sentence repeated many times. Olivia sees what others miss. She touched the words because entire life. She told the opposite. She was too emotional, too independent, too difficult. But her grandfather had something different, potential. Meanwhile, Thomas Bennett was preparing his own response. He sat with Charlotte. "Cannot happen." Worried. "Dad, documents are real." Thomas' expression hardened. "Your father made a mistake." Charlotte hesitated. "But the institute belonged." Olivia looked at her. "Understand what that means?" She stayed quiet. If Olivia controls the research center, she controls everything. The reputation, the technology, the future. Charlotte uncomfortable. "But she's family." Tom laughed. "Family doesn't always mean one is qualified." That evening, Olivia received another call, time from her father. "Olivia, we need to talk." He already knew. "What about?" "The Research Institute." She laments beside her. "Told me about?" Silence. Thomas took a breath. "Your grandfather clearly at the end." Smiled slightly. "Interesting." "What?" Everyone kept thinking clearly. Except the people who actually worked with him. Thomas became quiet. Olivia continued. "You knew about it?" "Yes." "You knew Grandpa wanted me to have it." Under silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" Thomas had no answer. The next day, Olivia discovered something inside the ownership records. A sealed agreement, created before Arthur's death. Shocked. Her family object clause. She opened it. The document explained that Arthur expected someone might challenge his decision, and he left condition. If any family member attempted to remove her from ownership, The full history of the evidence would become public, include communication, record, all financial records. Interfere. Olivia stared at the judge. Her grandfather knew someone would die. Prepared for it. That night, she stood in front of the research center. Lights reflected in the glass. A few months ago, she believed was the daughter nobody chose, the person who mattered less, had to prove herself alone. She understood. Her grandfather had chosen her years ago, else simply tried to hide it. Her phone, a message from Charlotte. Only 5 words. We need to talk. Alone. Olivia looked at the message for the first time. She wondered if her sister had secrets too, and maybe it wasn't just a favorite daughter. Maybe she was also a prisoner of the same family lie. Olivia Bennett arrived at the small cafe 10 minutes early. She didn't know what to expect. For years, Charlotte had been the person everyone compared her to, the favorite daughter, the successful one, the one who always received support. But now Charlotte was the one asking for a private conversation, and Olivia knew something was wrong. Charlotte arrived quietly, no designer clothes, no confident smile. For the first time in years, she looked nervous. Olivia watched her sit down. What do you want to talk about? Charlotte looked at the table. Grandpa. The answer was immediate. Olivia stayed silent. Charlotte took a deep breath. I knew he wanted to leave the institute to you. Olivia felt her chest tighten. You knew? Charlotte nodded slowly. I found out 2 years ago. The words hurt. Not because Charlotte knew, because she never told. Olivia's voice was calm, but the disappointment was obvious. Charlotte looked away. Because Dad told me not to say anything. Olivia laughed softly. So you just listened? Charlotte looked ashamed. I was scared. Of what? Of losing everything. Olivia stared at her. You already had everything. Charlotte didn't answer, because she knew it was true. Charlotte explained. What happened after Arthur became... Thomas began handling most of Arthur's affairs. At first, nobody questioned it. He was his son. The family trusted him. But see, things changed. Arthur's phone call became... His messages stopped reaching Olivia. His invitations disappeared. And whenever Arthur asked about Olivia, he received this. She doesn't want it. Olivia felt tears forming. Believed that? He was hurt. He thought you didn't more. The hardest part wasn't knowing someone lied. The hardest part was knowing her. Grandfather spent his final years believing she abandoned him. Olivia looked down. Answered. I've been there. Charlotte whispered. That was the first Olivia heard. Those were her sister. But why did Grandpa leave everything to me? Charlotte surprised. You don't know? Know what? Charlotte hesitated. Then she said, Project. The one nobody knew about. Years earlier, Arthur had created a private research program. Not for money, not recognition. For young scientists who were ignored by traditional institutions. People with talent but no connections. People who were overlooked, just like Olivia. Charlotte smiled. Sadly, Grandpa said you himself. Olivia confused. He said you weren't success. You were chasing answers. Then Charlotte revealed else. The 11 million wasn't a gift. Olivia looked at her. What do you mean? That company. It was his legacy. Grandpa disagreed. Why? Because he believed Dad only cared about appearances. He thought giving Charlotte money would make Emily look successful. But giving you the institute something meaningful. Olivia finally understood. Her father didn't just prefer Charlotte. He misunderstood. What to Thomas? Money represented success. To Arthur, impact represented success. That evening, Olivia went to the research center. She walked through the halls. Scientists, young researchers were being created. For the first time, she didn't feel like an outsider. She belonged. But when she entered Arthur's office, she found something unexpected. A sealed envelope. On the desk, her name was written on it again. Olivia opened it fully. Inside was another letter. This one was shortly a few sentences. Olivia, if they try to convince you are not, remember this. People who underestimate are often afraid of what you can become. Read the final line. Do not spend your life proving your worth to people who already decided not to see it. Olivia held the letter for years. To earn her family's approval, now she finally understood. She didn't need their ever did. The next morning, Olivia made her decision. She called James Walker. I want to take control of the institute. The lawyer smiled. Was hoping you would say that. But before the process began, another problem appeared. A legal challenge had been filed. The person challenging the inheritance was Thomas Bennett, her own father. Olivia looked at the dog. After everything, he was still trying to take away the thing her grandfather left her. But this time was different. She wasn't the ignored daughter anymore. She was the owner of the legacy Arthur built, and she was ready to fight. Olivia Bennett had spent her entire life trying to be accepted by her family, but now for the first time she was fighting to protect something that was never supposed to be taken from her, her grandfather's legacy. The legal notice arrived 3 days after Olivia announced her decision. Thomas Bennett was officially challenging Arthur's inheritance plan. The reason? He claimed Olivia was not prepared to manage the research institute. He claimed Arthur's decision was made emotionally, and he claimed the institute belonged with the more experienced members of the family. Olivia read the document quietly. She wasn't surprised, but she was disappointed, because even now, her father still saw her the same way, as someone who needed permission, not someone who deserved responsibility. The first meeting happened. Bennett family attorney's office. Thomas arrived. Charlotte sat beside him. Rebecca followed. Quietly, Olivia entered with James with her. For a minute, everyone looked at her. The same family, the same face, but everything had changed. Years ago, Olivia entered rooms hoping they would notice her. Now, she entered knowing her. Thomas spoke. Olivia, this doesn't have to be complete. She looked. Then why did you file a legal challenge? Thomas, I am trying to protect your grandfather. Olivia almost. Protected from who? Silence. From me? Thomas looked uncomfortable. You don't have the experience. And Charlotte does? Thomas did. That was. James placed a folder on. Before anyone questions Arthur Bennett's decision, we should review his final instructions. The room became quiet. Inside the folder were years of documents, research reports, evaluation. And one important statement, Arthur's own words, I am not leaving this institute to the person with the bill. I am leaving it to the person who understands why it exists. Thomas looked frustrated. This proves nothing. James continued. It proves everything. He opened the document. 5 years earlier, Arthur had privately evaluated both grandchildren. Charlotte's report focused on business growth. Olivia's report focused on scientific innovation. The final note, Arthur said, Charlotte understands success. Olivia, under this time, Charlotte looked uncomfortable because she knew she had always been with Olivia. But she stood why. She did. Her grandfather thought Olivia was less. She was different. Thomas, another argument. The institute is worth hundreds of millions. It became silent. Olivia looked at him. There it was. The real reason, not concern, not protection, money. Thomas wanted control because of the value to the institute. Asked calmly, Mr. Bennett, if the institute had no financial value, would you still challenge the inheritance? Thomas didn't answer. Nobody needed him to. After the meeting, Olivia walked outside. Charlotte followed. Olivia, what? Looked emotional. I know I can't change. Happened. Olivia remained silent, but I never asked Grandpa to her. You? Olivia looked at her. Charlotte continued, I thought and meant I won. But now I realize I lost something too. That evening, Olivia at the research center. Looked through the laboratory. Are you? Yes. I just wanted to say, grandfather changed my life. Olivia. How? He would. He believed my research mattered. The researcher looked around. This place isn't just a building, it's people like us get seen. Those with Olivia. Because suddenly she understood her grandfather didn't leave her a fortune, her a responsibility to continue what he started. But Thomas wasn't finished. The next morning, Olivia received another message. News article had been published. The headline shocked her. Family. Dispute threatens future of net research. Institute. Someone had leaked the story. Someone wanted public pressure. Someone to make her look incapable. James called immediately. Olivia, I have a problem. What happened? Your father isn't in the legal case anymore. He is trying your reputation. Olivia looked at the article. For years, she had been ignored. Now, afraid people would finally see her, and that made them dangerous. The article spread faster than Olivia expected. Within hours, people were questioning her. They didn't know the truth. They only saw a headline, a family dispute, a valuable research institute, a daughter fighting against her own father, and Thomas Bennett knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't trying to win through facts. He was trying to control the story. That evening, Olivia sat alone inside Arthur's old office, the same room where her grandfather spent thousands of hours working. She looked at the photographs on the wall. Her grandfather with scientists, her grandfather with students, her grandfather building something bigger than himself. Then she looked at the news article again. Maybe he was right, Olivia whispered. Maybe I wasn't ready. For a moment, the old doubts returned, the same doubts her family had planted for years. But then she noticed something, a small drawer underneath Arthur's desk. It had a lock, and beside it, a note, only open when you doubt yourself. Inside the drawer was a small storage device, and another letter. Olivia opened it. Dear Olivia, if you are reading this, someone has probably made you question whether you belong here. She smiled sadly, because her grandfather knew her better than anyone. I want you to remember something. Confidence is not believing you are better than others. It is knowing you are capable of doing what you were chosen to do. The storage device contained Arthur's private recordings. One video immediately caught Olivia's attention. The date was 2 years before his death. Arthur was sitting in his office, older, tired, but clear-minded. If my family is watching this, he paused. There is something you need to understand. The $11 million given to Charlotte was never meant to be her inheritance. Olivia froze. Arthur continued. Thomas believes money creates security, but money without purpose disappears. I created the Institute because I wanted to build something that survives beyond one person. The reason I chose Olivia is simple. She understands that knowledge belongs to everyone, not just those who can afford it. Olivia watched silently. Her grandfather had known. He knew exactly what would happen. He knew people would question his choice, and he prepared for it. The next morning, Olivia asked James for all financial records connected to the $11 million. At first, he hesitated. Are you sure you want to see this? Yes. A few hours later, the truth appeared. The money wasn't simply a gift. It came from a company account connected to Thomas's business, and the transfer had a condition. Charlotte was expected to use the money to purchase controlling shares in a technology company, a company connected to Thomas's future plans. Olivia stared at the document. So it wasn't about helping Charlotte. James shook his head. No, it was about building control. When Olivia confronted Charlotte, her sister looked devastated. I didn't know everything, but you knew something. Charlotte lowered her eyes. Yes. How much? Enough to know Dad wanted influence. Olivia felt hurt. You watched them do this. Charlotte whispered. I was afraid of losing everything. Olivia looked at her. And what about me? Charlotte had no answer. For years, Charlotte believed she was the lucky one, the chosen one, the daughter who won. But now she realized something. Her father didn't give her freedom. He gave her a role. She was another piece in his plan. That afternoon, Charlotte made a decision. She contacted Olivia. I want to help. Olivia looked surprised. What? Because Grandpa was right. About what? About purpose. Charlotte took a deep. I don't want to spend my life protecting a version of myself that Dad created. Meanwhile, Thomas discovered Charlotte had changed sides. He was furious. You have no idea what you are doing. Charlotte looked at him. For the first time. Thomas then made his final move. He filed an emergency request to freeze the Research Institute's operation. His argument was simple. Olivia was damaging the organization's future. But James found something. A hidden clause inside Arthur's final document. A clause Thomas never knew existed. If anyone attempted to interfere with the Institute's mission, ownership would immediately transfer into a protected foundation controlled by Olivia. Thomas wasn't just losing control. He was about to lose the ability to touch it. When Olivia saw the document, she finally understood. Her grandfather wasn't just leaving her a bill. He was leaving her a shield against the people who never believed him. But before the court could make a final decision, another secret was discovered. A secret that connected Thomas to the reason Arthur stopped trusting him years ago. And the truth would change everything. The courtroom hearing was only days away, but Olivia Bennett was no longer afraid. For most of her life, she had entered difficult situations believing she had something to prove. She needed to prove she was smart enough, strong enough, successful enough. But now she understood something. Her grandfather never asked her to prove her worth. He already knew it. The new evidence arrived late one evening. James Walker called Olivia. Olivia, I found something. His voice sounded serious. What is it? A private file your grandfather kept hidden. About what? Your father. Olivia became silent. She already knew this was something important. The next morning, Olivia met James at his office. He placed an old folder on the table. The label was handwritten, Arthur Bennett's personal review. Olivia opened it carefully. Inside were documents from years ago, emails, financial reports, internal research records, and one name appeared repeatedly. Thomas Bennett. Your grandfather discovered something years ago, James explained. What? Your father was using the Institute's reputation for personal business deals. Olivia frowned. What kind of deals? Investments, partnerships, and private agreements that had nothing to do with research. Olivia continued reading. Her father had been using Arthur's name, the reputation of the Institute, the trust people had in Arthur, all to attract investors. At first, Arthur ignored small issues. He believed Thomas made mistakes, but then he discovered something bigger. Money intended for research projects had been redirected, not stolen directly, not obviously, but moved through complicated business accounts. Olivia looked at James. Did Grandpa confront him? Yes. What happened? James sighed. That was the moment their relationship changed forever. Arthur had confronted Thomas privately. He told him the Institute was not a business tool. It existed to help people. Thomas disagreed. He believed success required control, power, money. Arthur saw something different. He saw someone who was willing to sacrifice the mission for personal gain. The argument became worse. Thomas told Arthur, "You are old-fashioned. You don't understand how the world works anymore." Arthur replied, "No, I understand exactly how it works. That is why I know what you are becoming." After that day, Arthur changed his plans. He removed Thomas from any future control, but he knew one thing. If he openly fought his son, the family would destroy itself. So he waited. He created protection. Quietly, carefully, for Olivia. That night, Olivia watched another recording from Arthur. His voice was calm, but emotional. "Olivia, I wish I could have protected you sooner. I wish you never had to wonder why I disappeared. But sometimes people who seek control will hurt anyone who stands in their way, even family." Olivia wiped away tears, because for years she blamed herself. She thought she wasn't important enough. She thought she wasn't loved. But the truth was different. She was loved. Someone just made sure she never knew. Meanwhile, Thomas was preparing for the final confrontation. He met with his lawyer. "We need to make Olivia look inexperienced." The lawyer hesitated. "But the documents are strong." Thomas looked angry. "Then attack her personally. People believe emotions faster than facts." The plan was simple. Question Olivia's ability. Question her leadership. Question whether Arthur made the right choice. But Thomas made one mistake. He underestimated what Olivia had become. The day before the hearing, Olivia visited the Institute. She walked through the hall, the same place her grandfather built. Young researchers were working. Experiments were happening. Ideas were growing. A young woman approached. "Ms. Bennett." "Yes?" "I heard about the legal situation." Olivia smiled. "I'm sorry." The researcher shook her head. "Don't. Your grandfather always said something. That the person who changes. The world is usually the person nobody believes in at first." That night, Olivia prepared for. She looked at the documents, the letters, the recording, everything her grandfather left behind. But she knew something. This wasn't just about an inheritance anymore. It was about every person who had ever been underestimated. Every person who was told they weren't enough. Every person who had to build themselves without support. The next morning, the courtroom doors opened. Thomas Bennett walked in confident. He believed he was about to take back control. He believed. Olivia was still the little girl standing outside the family celebration. The girl nobody noticed. But when Olivia entered the courtroom, she wasn't that girl anymore. She carried her grandfather's legacy, and she was ready to reveal the truth. The courtroom was silent. Olivia Bennett sat across from the people who had shaped her entire life. Her father, her mother, her sister. For years she had wanted one thing from them: to be seen, to be recognized, to hear someone say, "We are proud of you." But today, she no longer needed those words, because she finally knew her own value. Thomas Bennett's lawyer stood first. "Your Honor, this case is not about money. It is about responsibility. The Bennett Advanced Research Institute is a major organization. It requires experience, leadership, someone capable of protecting its future." Then he looked at Olivia. "My client believes Arthur Bennett made an emotional decision, a decision based on personal feelings, rather than practical judgment." Olivia listened quietly. The same argument, the same belief. She wasn't capable, she wasn't ready, she wasn't enough. But this time, she wasn't hurt. She was prepared. James Walker stood. "Before discussing Olivia Bennett's qualifications, I would like to present Arthur Bennett's final recorded statement." Thomas immediately looked concerned. Recorded statement? James nodded. Created specifically for this situation. The courtroom became silent. A video appeared on the screen. Arthur Bennett appeared. Older, weaker, but completely clear. My name is Arthur Bennett, and I want to make one thing clear. My decision was not based on emotion. It was based on years of observation. I watched my grandchildren grow. I watched what they valued. I watched how they treated people who could do nothing for them. Arthur continued. Charlotte is intelligent. She understands business. She knows how to create opportunities. Thomas looked confident. Then Arthur said, but Olivia understands something more important. She understands responsibility. The courtroom was silent. Olivia looked at the screen. Her grandfather's voice continued. When Olivia succeeds, she does not ask how much she can gain. She asks who she can help. That is why I chose her. Thomas looked uncomfortable. But James wasn't finished. He presented another file. The court should also know why Arthur Bennett removed Thomas Bennett from control. The documents appeared. Financial records, internal reports, research funding, transfers, emails, everything. Thomas immediately stood. This is irrelevant. The judge looked at him. Sit down, Mr. Bennett. Thomas slowly returned to his seat. For the first time, he looked uncertain. James explained. Arthur Bennett discovered that company resources were being redirected away from research purposes. He discovered that the Institute's reputation was being used for private business interests, and he created safeguards to prevent further interference. Everyone looked at Thomas, even Rebecca, the woman who had defended him for years. She looked shocked. You told me it was just a misunderstanding. Thomas avoided her eye. Then Charlotte stood. The entire room looked at her. Dad, her voice shook. I need to tell the truth. Thomas stared at Charlotte, but she continued. I knew Grandpa wanted Olivia to inherit the Institute. I knew he tried to contact her, and I stayed silent. Olivia looked at her sister. Charlotte continued. I thought I was protecting my future, but I was protecting a lie. Tears appeared in her eyes. I spent my whole life being chosen, but I never realized what it cost someone else. The judge reviewed the documents. After several hours, the decision was made. Arthur Bennett's inheritance would remain unchanged. The Research Institute belonged to Olivia Bennett. No one could challenge the ownership. No one could remove her. Outside the courtroom, Thomas approached Olivia. For a minute, neither spoke. Finally, he said, I was trying to protect the family. Olivia looked at him. You were trying to protect control. Thomas had no response. You always thought I needed to prove myself. Olivia continued. But Grandpa never thought that. He believed in me before I believed in myself. Thomas looked away. Maybe for the first time, he understood what he had lost. Not the Institute, not the money, but a daughter who spent years hoping he would see. That evening, Olivia returned to the research center. The legal battle was, but something still bothered. She opened Arthur's final note. There was one last page she hadn't seen. One final message. Olivia, if you have reached this, you now know the truth. But remember, winning is not about making others lose. Winning is building something they cannot destroy. Olivia closed the notebook. She finally understood. Her grandfather didn't leave her a win. He left her a mission. Now, she was ready to finish what he started. 6 months had passed since the courtroom decision. For many people, winning a legal battle would have been the end of the story. But for Olivia Bennett, it was only the beginning. Because Arthur's gift was never about ownership. It was about purpose. The Bennett Advanced Research Institute had changed. Not because Olivia wanted to prove something. Not because she wanted revenge. But because she finally understood why her grandfather built it. A place where talent mattered more than background. A place where ideas mattered more than connections. A place where people who were ignored could finally be seen. On the first day of her leadership, Olivia made an announcement. The Institute would create a new program, the Arthur Bennett Innovation Fellowship. Its purpose was simple: to support young researchers who had incredible ideas but lacked opportunities, the same kind of people Arthur believed in, the same kind of person Olivia used to be. During the opening ceremony, reporters asked Olivia a question. Many people expected you to shut out the family members who fought against you. Why didn't you? Olivia thought for a moment. Then she answered, because my grandfather taught me something important. Being hurt does not mean you have to become someone else. The reporters continued, do you forgive them? Olivia looked toward the research building. I don't think forgiveness means pretending nothing happened. It means choosing what kind of person you want to become after it happens. Meanwhile, Charlotte was rebuilding her own life. For the first time, she wasn't living according to someone else's expectations. She returned the money she had received from the family business deals. She stepped away from her father's influence, and she started working with organizations that supported young entrepreneurs. One afternoon, Charlotte visited the Institute. She stood outside Arthur's old office. Olivia noticed her. You came. Charlotte smiled. I wasn't sure you wanted to see me. Olivia was quiet. Then she said, "I didn't know if I wanted to." Charlotte nodded. "I understand." For a moment, they stood there silently. Two sisters, two completely different lives, separated by years of comparison, years of misunderstanding, years of family pressure. Charlotte finally spoke. "I used to think I was lucky because I got everything." Olivia looked at her. "But now I realize. I spent years trying to become the person everyone wanted me to be." She paused. "And you spent years trying to prove you deserved to be noticed." Olivia looked away, because it was true. They were both trapped, just in different ways. "I am sorry," Charlotte said. "Not the kind of apology people make because they have to. A real one. I should have told you. I should have asked questions. I should have been your sister before I tried to be the favorite." But Olivia didn't answer immediately. Forgiveness was not something that happened in one moment. Trust was not rebuilt in one conversation. But for the first time, there was honesty between them. And maybe that was where healing began. Months later, the Institute held its largest research presentation in years. Hundreds of people attended. Young scientists, investors, students. People who once believed they had no chance. Now, they had a place. Before the event began, Olivia walked into Arthur's old office. She placed his notebook on the desk. "I understand now, Grandpa. You weren't leaving me a building. You were leaving me a responsibility." She looked at the old photograph, at the man who believed in her before anyone else did. "You saw me when nobody else did, and now I want to do the same for others." Outside, the presentation began. A young researcher stepped onto the stage, nervous, uncertain, the way Olivia once felt. Before speaking, the researcher looked toward Olivia. "Thank you for giving us this chance." Olivia smiled, because she knew exactly what those words meant. Years ago, her family told her to build her own future. They meant it as a punishment. They thought they were telling her, "You are on your own." But they were wrong, because being forced to stand alone taught Olivia something. She was stronger than she knew. The daughter they overlooked became the person who created opportunities for thousands of others. The girl they ignored became the woman everyone listened to. And the inheritance they thought was just an asset became a legacy that changed countless lives. 5 years had passed since Olivia Bennett took control of the Bennett Advanced Research Institute. The world knew her name now, not because of her family's wealth, not because of her grandfather's inheritance, but because of what she built. The Institute became one of the most respected research organizations in the country. Thousands of young scientists received opportunities they never thought possible. And every year, Olivia remembered the person who started it all, Arthur Bennett. On the 5th anniversary of her leadership, Olivia received a package. There was no sender, only one sentence written on the front: "To be opened when the mission is understood." Olivia immediately recognized the handwriting. Her grandfather. Inside was a small notebook, different from the others. This one contained no research, no financial records, no legal documents, only memories. Arthur had written about his life, his mistakes, his regrets, and his hopes. The first page said, "Olivia, when you were young, you always thought you needed to become successful so people would notice you. But I hope you learned something. Your value was never created by other people's approval. It existed before anyone recognized it." Olivia paused, because those words described her entire life. For years, she chased acceptance. From her parents, from relatives, from people who had already decided who she was. But her grandfather saw something different. The next pages revealed something Olivia never expected. Arthur had known about her struggles for years. He knew she felt invisible. He knew she compared herself to Charlotte. He knew she believed she wasn't enough. But he never told her, because he wanted her to discover her strength herself. One sentence made Olivia stop. "I could have protected you from every disappointment, but then you would never discover how powerful you are." Olivia closed the notebook. For the first time, she understood. Her grandfather wasn't absent, because he didn't care. He was preparing her, not for a fight against her family, but for a life where she didn't need their approval. That evening, Olivia invited her family to the Institute, not for a confrontation, not for revenge, for closure. Thomas arrived quietly. He looked older, less confident, less certain. For years, he had believed control was the same as success. Now he saw what Olivia created without him, a place built on trust, not fear. They stood together inside Arthur's old office. Thomas looked around. He would be proud. Olivia looked at him. Yes. A long silence followed. Then Thomas said, "I spent years thinking you didn't need help, but maybe I used that as an excuse." Olivia didn't respond, because some wounds take time. "I should have seen you," Thomas continued, "not as the daughter who could survive alone, but as my daughter." Olivia felt the weight of those words, because they were the words she had wanted for decades. But she had learned something important. Her healing couldn't depend on whether someone finally apologized. "I appreciate you saying that," Olivia said, "but I also need you to understand. An apology doesn't erase the past." Thomas nodded. "I know, and I don't expect it to." For the first time, there was honesty between them. Not a perfect end, not a magical repair of years of pain, but something real: acceptance. Later that night, Olivia returned to Arthur's office. She opened the final page of the notebook. Only one sentence remained. "If you ever wonder whether choosing yourself was selfish, remember this: people who truly love you will never ask you to become smaller so they can feel big." Olivia smiled, because she finally understood. Her family's rejection had once felt like the end of her story, but it was actually the beginning. Years ago, her father gave her sister $11 million. He thought he was showing Olivia what she was worth. He thought money was the greatest gift, but he was wrong, because the greatest gift wasn't money. It was the belief that someone saw her potential. Arthur gave Olivia something far more valuable than an inheritance. He gave her confidence, purpose, and a chance to change the world. Today, when young researchers walk through the doors of the Bennett Advanced Research Institute, they don't see a rich family's legacy. They see a place where they belong, a place where someone believes in, a place where nobody is forgotten. And Olivia Bennett finally understood the truth. She was never the daughter who was left behind. She was the person who was always meant to build something great. The family that overlooked her, helped her discover herself. The grandfather who believed in her, gave her the courage to believe in others. And the inheritance they thought was about money became a legacy that lasted forever.